avem clipul ăsta. Cosplayerii care au devenit criminali. Cui nu-i plac criminalii? Adică cosplayerii. Bun. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
To a redneck Raven cosplayer kidnapping a teen. To a Japanese Joker truly fed up with society. Today we'll be exploring the bizarre underbelly of the cosplaying community, discussing a handful of eccentric crimes committed by some of its more unhinged, costumed characters. Anime, gaming, and cosplaying conventions can be some pretty stinky places. Might want to stop the stench with today's sponsor, Mando. Mando is great. It's a high-performance, whole-body detached clinic experience was a 5 out of 10. People armpits that $5 off and free shipping off any most of the time it's just a fun hobby that allows otherwise unrelated people to meet up, offering a great opportunity to make new friends. On one occasion, however, a woman was met with a nightmare situation after a crazed stalker who participated in the community took notice of her. The story begins in January of 2019, when the annual Anime Los Angeles convention was set to take place at the Ontario Convention Center. Anime enthusiasts attended the event, with many showing up in elaborate outfits, cosplaying as their favorite characters. One such individual was Matthew Toyotome, also known as Ninja Lee. He was a part of a Power Rangers cosplay group, and usually dressed up as the Yellow Power Ranger. Taking a look at his social media, Matthew was quite the peculiar figure. Aside from the Yellow Ranger stuff, he often posted photos of himself wielding replica firearms, LARPing as a covert secret agent of sorts, with him hiding behind trees and taking tactical positions behind walls and trash cans. Though odd, his behavior was innocuous. Matthew's true slide into criminality is born out of an unhealthy obsession. The man began developing feelings towards a woman in his cosplaying circle. Her name was Julia. Julia was a member of Matthew's Power Ranger group, and she dressed up as the Pink Ranger. The story goes that Matthew would eventually make his romantic feelings known to Julia, but she wasn't interested and politely rejected his advances. At this point, you would expect that he would simply accept his losses here and move on with his life like a normal person. But if he did, we wouldn't be talking about this guy, would we? Matthew was furious about getting rejected. His anger simmered and boiled over into a full-on hatred towards the Pink Ranger that politely rejected his advances. The deranged man started plotting his revenge, a plan that he would eventually execute during one of the night's festivities at Anime LA Con. On January 16th, Matthew strolled into the parking lot of the Azure Hotel and Suites, where Julia's vehicle was parked. In surveillance footage that was later publicly released online, you can see the man casually smoking a cigarette. Later in the clip, he walks over to her car and pours gasoline all over it before proceeding to set it on fire. As Matthew quickly left the scene of the crime, flames engulfed the surrounding cars in the lot, causing massive amounts of property damage. This also resulted in the hotel's fire alarms being triggered. Authorities were called soon after, with hotel customers even being evacuated. Local news outlet ABC7 interviewed a hotel patron named Hank Lugan, who had this to say.
Like, one of the police officers were cutting through one of the cars. This is crazy. I think one of the people that we actually know, their cars are like completely melted.
While nobody had been physically injured, 7 different vehicles in total sustained some form of damage. Despite the fire, police were initially hesitant to classify it as an arson attack, though their opinion regarding this matter soon changed after being provided footage of the guy literally creating the fire by the hotel manager. When questioned, Julia and her at-the-time boyfriend quickly identified Matthew as the individual in the video. The man was soon arrested, being charged not just for the arson attempt, but for his obsessive stalking as well, being given and held on a whopping $250,000 bail. Julia would make an Instagram post detailing the ordeal, thanking everyone for their support and asking for contributions to her GoFundMe, which eventually raised over...
i-a dat gen reject, what the fuck, ce termina cu aia. Dacă nu te place o fată, doar fucking Move on, the fuck?
$15,000.
I-a ars
Some of the
mașina.
other victims of the fire also asked for donations, with the entire cosplay community rallying together to try to give what they could. This guy was clearly a disturbed individual, and I'm thankful that his incel rage only resulted in property damage and that nobody was physically injured or worse.
What the fuck e aia?
Redneck Raven cosplayer gets prison. Teen Titans is a classic superhero show in the minds of both casual and hardcore cartoon lovers. Adults and children alike found the characters layered and dynamic, with Raven possibly being the best example within the show. Our next subject was a Raven cosplayer who not only fails to emulate Raven in just about every way imaginable, but this Titan ironically would help in the kidnapping of a teen. On November 4th, 2022, an unnamed teenage girl was abducted by a then 22-year-old man named Kobe Jerome Jordan. He had allegedly picked her up in his truck late at night, bringing her to the home of a woman named Molly Michelle Jarrett, who lived in the town of Pansy, Alabama. Another woman named Destiny Star Lewis was also present throughout this entire ordeal. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, this kidnapped young girl had initially gone with the man willingly. To this day, it's unclear what the girl's relationship to these three adults were, and if it is known, it might be hidden for privacy purposes. However, it can be reasonably assumed that she was on decent terms with them beforehand, making what happened next all the more shocking. The girl was taken to an abandoned building in Jackson County, Florida. Keep in mind that Pansy is close to the border between the two states, meaning that they hadn't actually traveled that far. This is where the pleasantries seemed to stop, with Kobe binding her limbs with duct tape and brutally beating her. The trio then dumped the teenager at a seemingly random spot nearby, driving back home to Alabama soon after. The young girl was fortunately able to break free of her bonds and got out and found help. A report had already been filed after she was spotted by a nearby resident, with the teen's testimony resulting in an investigation being launched. Given the fact that the victim knew exactly, who the perpetrators were and where they lived, it wasn't exactly difficult for police to track them down. While this story is pretty crazy on its own, it was photos taken after the perpetrators captured that garnered the most attention by the press. In a Facebook post published by Florida's Jackson County Sheriff's Office, photos of the deranged criminals were showcased. And in one of them, you can clearly see here that Molly is sporting a Raven cosplay, the costume being worn during the perpetration of the crime. To this day, it is somewhat unclear as to why she was wearing this Raven cosplay. If I had to take a guess, I'd say maybe them being from South Alabama had something to do with it. The juxtaposition of such a serious criminal offense being carried out by someone wearing a half-baked Raven costume caused many in the comments section to mock the individuals responsible, with the story becoming a full-blown meme of sorts. Bizarrely, Molly's photo was even featured in official news coverage of the situation, adding to its absurdity.
Two are behind bars tonight after being arrested for kidnapping a girl in Jackson County, Florida. Colby Jerome Jordan is accused of kidnapping a girl Friday evening. The two then met up with two other females, one of whom is Molly Michelle Jarrett.
Despite all the jokes being made at the criminal's expense, the authorities weren't laughing.
Cooler are 0% alcool și poate fi băut și zi.
Oh my god, bro, mă jur că înainte nu dădeau atâtea reclame, mă jur, bro, mă jur.
Advanced Protection este activat de căldura corpului. Rexona, nu te lasă la greu.
Mă piși pe Roxana și pe toți morții. Poftă, 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 poftă YouTube, poftă! Poftă bună YouTube, poftă bună! Ia-o în gură, găte drept.
Colby Jerome Jordan is accused
Gura ta
of
cu
kidnapping a
reclamele
girl
tale.
Friday evening. The two then
Un
met
ban să
up
nu
with
facă,
two
bă, un
other
ban.
females, one
Un
of
ban.
whom is Molly Michelle Jarrett.
Despite all the jokes being made at the criminal's expense, the authorities weren't laughing, at least publicly. In March of 2024, all three individuals responsible for the kidnapping were officially charged. While they had initially pled not guilty in 2023, it appeared that their tune had changed as the legal case proceeded. The fact that they had crossed state lines also didn't help their situation, with the incident being considered a federal crime. In the end, Kobe was given 7 years. Destiny was given almost 6. and Molly, the redneck raven, was given 11 with no chance of parole. They're currently serving out their sentences, hopefully never being able to cause harm to any more innocent teens again. For now, she'll be Azarath Metrion sitting her ass in prison. Deaf superhero attacked by real-life villain. Ray Shorn Pitt, or Ray for short, was a local phenomena in Florida. As a deaf person, Ray has sadly had fewer opportunities in life, often struggling to find positive ways to channel his energy. He was adopted by his father, a man named Rusty Pitt, and his wife Angie, all the way back in 2004. And growing up was a battle. Ray struggled with a lack of social skills and often lagged behind as a result. To top it all off, his adoptive father unfortunately passed away when Ray was a teenager, making his life even more difficult. Though a publication known as the Daily Commercial reported that things began to look up for Ray after a kind-hearted U.S. military veteran befriended him and gifted him a Superman costume. Ray was a big fan of superheroes and kung fu movies, and this costume allowed him a way to become his larger-than-life role models in a way, and channel his creative energies. At 20 years old, Ray, donning his gifted Superman costume, began standing on a street corner next to the highway in his hometown of Mineola, Florida, performing action moves and shadow boxing as cars passed by, doing so purely to entertain the public. Despite an occasional mean-spirited person making fun of him, most of the local residents found his presence to be positive, eventually dubbing Ray the Mineola superhero. Overall, it was a positive experience for him. It provided him with an opportunity to express himself, all while becoming a well-known and frankly beloved member of the community. However, this would change in the summer of 2017 when Ray met 26-year-old Tyler McCorvey. This deranged individual, for some reason, had a desire to fight the deaf superhero. According to later witness reports, Tyler was seen mocking Ray's disability before physically assaulting him. The incident was described by a woman who personally knew him in an interview with a local news station.
I saw him imitating Ray's moves. In between imitating them, he would hit him for real.
Interestingly, a video of the Mineola superhero and the villain does exist online, being posted to YouTube shortly after the story broke by a man named the Rocky Walsh.
He's yelling at him maybe for being out there doing a Superman thing.
Tyler McCorvey was quickly found and arrested, with many baffled as to why he had attacked a beloved local hero. It would soon become clear that the man was extremely unstable mentally. After his arrest, he claimed that he was innocent and hadn't hurt anyone, despite there being clear evidence of so. After this defense didn't work, he started having a complete mental breakdown. Police claimed in later statements to news outlets that the man screamed at the top of his lungs, even going as far as to dunk his head into a toilet while claiming he wanted to die at the police station. According to WESH News, he was eventually charged with 2 counts of battery and aggravated abuse of a disabled adult. Despite the upsetting nature of this story, there was a silver lining to it. Ray didn't let the incident stop him from pursuing his hobbies as a superhero, and he went right back to the same street corner soon after to continue his work shadowboxing and entertaining the public. Because of this and the viral nature of the story, Ray became a sensation overnight, with hundreds of local residents showing their support for him on social media. A Facebook page was started in his honor, and many passers-by gave him drinks and other gifts while he stood out dancing in the hot sun, with cheerful people honking at him as they passed by. I do want to clear one misconception that I've seen about this story online. The majority of news outlets that have reported on this story claimed that Ray was autistic. Just know that according to Ray's mother, this guy isn't autistic, he's simply deaf. As simple as that could be, I guess. His mother, Angie, claimed that he had developmental issues, but denied that it was the result of autism. Though regardless, he was still a disabled adult who had been unjustly victimized. Thankfully, the community came together to support him. While the criminal in this story isn't actually the cosplayer, I did want to include it. The Mineola superhero story is a nice reminder that sometimes strangers can band together to make a positive impact on someone's life. These people came together to support an at-risk individual who they beloved in their town. While it's unclear exactly what the Mineola superhero is up to today, a video has been posted in recent years showing that he's on the same street corner performing his signature moves. Obese Punisher gets busted. One of the most iconic and
What? Obese Punisher?
Obese Punisher gets busted.
What?
One of the most iconic anti-heroes to come from comics is the Punisher. The Punisher took matters into his own hands, often killing criminals as a part of his own brand of vigilante justice. However, the fictional character unfortunately served as the inspiration for a potentially deadly crime that took place back in 2017. Matthew Sterling was a then 29-year-old man who, for some reason, developed a hatred of the actor Jason David Frank. Frank being best known for playing the iconic 90s iteration of the Green Power Rangers character. While his logic was a bit unclear, it seems Sterling's rage was enough for him to want to take matters into his own hands. Matthew Sterling hatched a plot to show up to the 2017 Comic-Con event held in Arizona while dressed up as the Punisher, and he wanted to shoot Jason when he was there, the actor being a scheduled speaker at the event. Matthew also planned to kill any police officers who tried to stop him. The overweight Punisher purchased real firearms and an assortment of other weapons. He geared up and traveled to the convention, arriving on May 25th. The thing is, since realistic guns are worn quite often at cosplays, nobody really gave him much of a second glance. Surveillance footage shows the portly Punisher walking around freely, going up and down the halls without any interruption, though he would eventually draw some attention. The details of how this man was stopped were covered extensively in a lengthy article by the Phoenix New Times. According to this publication, Matthew had avoided numerous security checkpoints and entered the convention with his guns without issue. Officers had become aware of his presence due to a disturbing tip they had received from an acquaintance of him. Apparently, he had been messaging them on social media about plans, and had made numerous concerning posts as well. After hearing about this, authorities entered the con and tried to find him. They soon would find Matthew and approached him to detain, but they struggled significantly when trying to subdue him. This was due to the man's enormous weight. Eventually, though, this guy would be brought into custody. After he was arrested and questioned, it was clear that this guy was more mentally deranged than anyone could have predicted. He seemed to believe he was the actual real-life embodiment of the Punisher. The guy was completely nuts, saying that he had actually previously stabbed Jason Frank, the Green Power Ranger, 15 years ago, and wanted to finish the job. And no, he did not stab Jason 15 years ago. The guy was cuckoo. In true Punisher fashion, he also stated he believed corrupt police officers needed to be killed and that he was the man to do it. After an investigation, it was also discovered that Matthew Sterling had set a reminder on his cell phone to kill the Power Rangers actor on that day of Comic-Con, setting it as like an alert in his iPhone. This bro had the fucking alarm setups for it. Obviously, this was a lot to take in for the media who was reporting on this case. While the incident was certainly very serious, the bizarre nature of his claims, combined with his unique look, caused some onlookers to find the whole ordeal somewhat funny, including myself. A local news outlet seemed to subtly mock him in their report, making multiple references about the guy's weight.
This guy, as you can see, Matthew Sterling, is a big guy, and we can see him from several angles on that day as he walked through the Phoenix Convention Center for Phoenix Comic-Con this year. That stroll is not captured on any of the center's cameras. You can see Sterling is massive in size. It did take some time for officers to take him into custody.
Jason the Green Ranger himself would soon respond to the incident. In an interview with the NBC News affiliate, he said, "I've already forgiven him. Do I want him to serve jail time and get mental help? Absolutely." The convention director also made a statement to Facebook claiming that the event was now upping its security measures. This included banning props of any kind in an effort to prevent weapons from sneaking through again. This resulted in a significant amount of backlash from attendees in the comments, with many feeling that it was an overreaction. Why don't you ask Jason Frank? I think he would say it's not an overreaction. I think anybody looking at this rationally would say that it was probably a pragmatic choice to ban the fake replicas just for this con. While Sterling initially pled not guilty in court, the proof was undeniable. The real question, though, was this guy culpable considering his mental health? Given the fact that he was clearly mentally ill, his lawyers sought an insanity plea on the basis that he didn't know he was doing anything wrong when perpetrating his deed. In an article by AZ Central, it was revealed that an initial psychiatric evaluation determined Sterling might have had schizophrenia. During the trial, his lawyer, Dwayne Cates, stated, "His psychosis seems to struggle between being Batman and the Punisher, which is significant because Batman does not kill anyone while the Punisher does." In late 2020, Matthew Sterling was sentenced to serve over 25 years in a mental hospital, where he remains today. In the end, it was fortunate that he hadn't actually harmed anyone and that he was caught before he could do any real damage. The Japanese Joker attack. In 2019, the Joker shocked the world with its dramatic and unique take on the iconic supervillain. Instead of being a criminal mastermind, the humble yet insane Arthur Fleck was portrayed as a mentally ill loner who committed heinous crimes after completely snapping when society pushes him to the brink. Now, you guys remember this with a lot of chatter about would this movie cause real-world violence, and for the most part, that proved not to be the case. But an incident did occur in 2021 that very much mimicked the actions of the supervillain. In October of that year, a then 24-year-old man named Kyoto Hattori boarded a Japanese subway train. Without warning, he pulled out a knife and began attacking passengers. He then would start a fire using lighter fluid that he had on hand, causing smoke to fill the entire car. Passengers can be seen in videos of the incident running in terror, climbing out of the subway car windows after it had come to a stop.
What the fuck?
Panic and confusion ensued, with the suspect soon being apprehended by authorities. In the end, he managed to cause minor injuries to 16 people, with one 72-year-old man being hospitalized after it was revealed he was stabbed. The ordeal caused quite the media stir, not just because incidents were rare like this in Japan, but because the guy was dressed like the Joker. Footage later surfaced of Kyoto smoking a cigarette while riding in the subway train car, seemingly fully LARPing as the Joker. When questioned, he claimed that he idolized the Joker and had wanted to kill as many people as possible. Apparently in true Arthur Fleck Joker fashion, Kyoto claimed that he had been driven to this violence after hitting a breaking point, with the stress of society and drama in his personal life resulting in him hitting rock bottom. According to an article by the Japanese news company FNN, he had been devastated with grief after his girlfriend of 9 years broke up with him and married someone else just 6 months later. And after that, he went Joker mode. He had also been transferred to a different department at his job after making a mistake, causing him to become borderline suicidal. When asked in court why he chose to imitate the Joker, he stated this: "I wanted to become like him. The Joker doesn't value human life. He doesn't think anything of hurting people. I thought I couldn't commit murder unless I had that kind of feeling." It's an interesting case study with the bizarre nature of the crime causing it to gain even more attention. The BBC released a think piece on the situation soon after, analyzing the cultural reasons as to why the event occurred, and commented on Japanese society in general. The article makes a point that several other similar attacks had occurred in the past. One particular incident from 2008 is mentioned when a man drove a truck into a crowd of people and began stabbing them. His reasoning for the attack had been similar to Kyoto. He faced pressure in his personal life, seemingly became suicidal, and then took his frustrations out on society. When questioned by the author as to why he dressed up like the Joker, a Japanese criminal psychologist had this to say: "He is a distorted attention seeker. By dressing up as the Joker on Halloween night, he thought he will stand out more. By acting like the Joker and saying he looked up to him, he can get more attention from the people. I don't think he decided to copy the Joker because he saw the movie." Kyoto Hattori was eventually sentenced to serve 23 years in prison, with the incident still remaining a topic of discussion in Japanese media even to this day. And well, you made it to the end. Let me know who or what you want me to talk about next.
Damn, bro, W clip. Coai de nu înțeleg, bă. Ce dracu crezut cu aia ăla că face, bro? Fiind The Joker. Sunt The Joker. What the fuck e aia? Cât de cringe poți să fii, though? Like, what the fuck?